Hello, this is Herb Strather on the Herb Strather Show, Detroit Talk Radio, and other media outlets. And today I have a very fascinating young man. We've just been chatting. His name is Anthony Askew, and he is with the DEGC, Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, and his area of responsibility is the Motor City Match Program. Welcome to the show, Anthony, my man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It. Very, very glad to be here.
I'm so pleased, and I got to tell you, he's a native Detroiter, and he went to Morehouse College, and he's just exciting. So I'm going to have him tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I won't steal your thunder. I'll let you talk a little bit. Tell them about yourself and how did you get to Detroit where you're at right now.
Okay,
Anthony?
Sure. So as you said, I am born and raised in Detroit. Went to King High School. Go Crusaders. And, following that, went to Morehouse College where I studied business. Worked in accounting for a bit before deciding to go to law school. And while in law school, I worked primarily in finance, venture capital, but with a focus on community and economic development. My goal was always to build what skill set I could and eventually come back home to Detroit. So around the end of 2014, I was living in Harlem, which, still
in Harlem, okay.
Still love and miss. It's still home.
Okay.
But decided it was time for me to come back to Detroit. I've been paying attention to what was happening and start to feel like I was sitting on the sideline while Detroit was having this resurgence that I had been, counting on and predicting and claiming for a long time. So moved back home to Detroit, and January 2015, a good friend of mine who was working at DGC at the time told me about a new program that we're working on and that I should come in and interview. I came in, interviewed, and the rest is history. So,
oh man, that is so exciting. So what are your goals? Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
That's a good question. I mean, I think entrepreneurship, real estate development is where my heart is, where my passion is, because I think that those are the tools that I think can make the most significant difference.
There's no question
for the folks that I love and care about, and for Detroiters who have been here, who have stuck it through. I think those are the tools that we need to understand very well in order to help Detroit reach its greatest potential.
Well, that's absolutely great. I just want to tell you, you got an invitation to come on over to Strather Associates at any time, my man. Because we are creating the next generation of developers.
Fantastic.
Now let's get on with the show in terms of what you do over there at DEGC. Specifically, what is the name of the program what is your title and the name of the program?
The program is Motor City Match, and I'm the program manager for Motor City Match.
Okay, now, so the DEGC actually manages the Motor City Match, or is it are you all a participant, or you all actually manage the project?
So we manage the project. It is a program of the mayor, under the mayor's direction, and DEGC as an entity is the manager of the program. So we administer it, we manage it, we essentially run the program from start to finish, all in-house at DGC.
Okay, now Jill Ford, she was with you. She's still with the administration now?
She is not. I think she recently took an opportunity with a venture capital firm in California. Yeah, so a great opportunity. I think it's a $100 million firm.
Oh, man, I was talking to her, and she told me she was going to be moving on, but I know she had a lot to do with the creation of this program.
She did. She was one of the early architects, certainly, of the program.
So was she headed it up, or you've always headed it up?
Well, when I came in, it's funny because, the program has grown tremendously now, but when it started, there was one full-time employee who was the program manager at the time, a gentleman named Michael Forsyth, and there were three contractors. So one was responsible for outreach, another was responsible for the administration, and then I was the program coordinator. So I worked right underneath the program manager in helping to launch the program. So
what kind of, how many employees you all have now over there?
Working on the program. So now there are probably 7 or 8 of us that are actively. Right.
So tell me about the program. It's a couple of funds that you manage, I understand. Tell me how Detroiters can participate. Describe the funds. Give me some history on them, and then how we can get involved with them.
Okay, so Motor City Match has 4 award tracks for business owners.
Okay.
So I'll start from the beginning. So what we tried to do was to create resources at sort of these very integral stages in the life of a business.
Okay.
So the 4 tracks are business plan, space, design, and cash. So starting at the beginning. So if you are a Detroiter and you just have a great idea, but you don't quite know how to execute that idea, we will provide a free business planning course for you.
A free business planning course?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you go in with your idea and you come out of that with essentially a roadmap on how to execute your idea.
And how long is this course?
The courses run about 8 weeks.
Is it ongoing? Is there a start date and a finish date to each course?
There's a start date and finish date. So we work with 2 partners right now, and each of those partners provide 2 business planning courses. So right now we're working with Lifeline Business Consulting. They do incredible work, as well as with Build Institute. Each one of those partners has 2 courses, one earlier in the day and one in the evening, so that we give the awardees some opportunity to work around their schedules.
Well, that is really great. So this goes on for about 8 weeks, you say?
It's about 8 weeks. You should come out with a business plan. I mean, now certainly the business plan is something that should continue to be worked on over time, but you at least have enough so that you can be a serious entrepreneur.
So you should bring your version of the business plan, whatever that might be.
Absolutely.
And you all will teach them and show them, how to lay out a real business plan,
Precisely.
if you will.
We go over financing, marketing,
projections,
right? Understanding. There are other awards too where we help people to understand exactly where you should be locating your business. So that's the second award, the Space Award.
Okay, the Space Award is second. So for after business planning, go look for somewhere to locate.
Exactly.
A strategic place that fits what your business objectives are.
Exactly. So we select the top 25 businesses each quarter, and we actively look to match them with property owners.
Now, neither one of these so far are grants. These are services, more or less, at this point.
Precisely.
First is educational, and then go looking for space, and here's the space that's available, and then you could go out and find you a space that would fit what you're trying to do.
Yes.
Okay, that's 2.
That's 2. And then the third is the Design Award. So let's say you have an entrepreneur who has a great business plan. They've identified a space.
Okay.
Now they're ready to take on a lease, but the property that they have secured has been vacant for however long. It's been vacant for 10 years. And before it was a daycare, and now you want to open a restaurant.
Okay.
Right? So there are significant design needs for a lot of entrepreneurs that has actually been the thing that's kept a lot of businesses from opening in Detroit.
Right.
Because a lot of folks were skipping that architectural and design step. So what we do is we hire an architect for the business, and services up to $16,000 for a complete set of construction documents, as well as for renderings, designs.
You said you guys hire the architects. So you have some pre-approved architects on your.
Precisely.
Okay.
We have a list of service providers across the board. So that's business consulting, finance consulting. We have accountants. We have lawyers. We have architects. We have a list of those providers that we don't necessarily recommend as these are ours, but we just do the initial work to make sure that they have their licenses, that they are who they say they are, that they're actually legitimate providers, and then we just provide enough information for the entrepreneur to make an informed decision about who they're working with.
So would you have one of each, or is it several? Like you have more than one architect?
Oh, we have probably over 100 total. So
wow.
Not architects.
Well, but I'm talking about just
service providers,
vendors.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and you may have. But you would have more than one architect.
We have about 6 or 7 that we work
that's
with
good.
now.
And many of these are located inside Detroit, should I suggest?
Yes, several. Actually, I'd say more than half of them are Detroit-based.
Well, that's good. So now, at this stage, the applicant does not get any money, but the service provider would get paid to help them. Is that how that would go?
That's exactly it. So the applicant or the winner at that point doesn't receive any money directly, but we do pay for the services on their behalf.
Okay.
And then, so I mentioned just the business plan, the site selection assistance, and also the architectural design. But we do provide a small grant of $1,000 for the business plan, $4,000 for space, and $5,000 for the architectural designing award. design awardees, where they can use those funds with those service providers. So the goal is to customize the services for each business.
I get
So it's not a one size fits all. If you need help with the logo, you can use that TA grant to get a logo with no money out of your pocket. And again, so people,
I got you. So you get $1,000, $4,000, $5,000 in that order.
Yes, sir.
For the planning, the space, and the design.
Exactly right.
Okay. So far, everybody, we're up to $10,000, and you can take these funds, and there's guidelines that you can use them for, and they are principally to pay the vendors. They wouldn't go to them, but they would pay the vendors, and based upon what they want.
Precisely, we pay on their behalf, and that's the goal, right? I think the goal of the program is to meet businesses where they are.
I see.
And one way we do that is again by helping to provide direct resources at those critical stages, but also that TA grant is what really helps to bring the flexibility.
What does that mean?
Technical assistance.
Technical assistance. Just let me make sure I understand one thing. On the very first one, they get $1,000. Does that go to the people that are teaching, or that's separate?
No, that's completely separate. So
in other words, if they want a logo design at that stage or something like that, or they may want to do some other research in terms of the competitiveness of it, surveys, market research and things like that. Well, this is really good. This is a great track so far. I hope everybody's following me, because this is a great thing for all you entrepreneurs out there. And Anthony, the thing I'm so excited is that this is bringing the magic back to Detroit, because Detroit is the home of entrepreneurs. You've got that Detroit DNA, like our parents had it.
Absolutely.
And I think to some extent, some of us that have went through the recession, we've taken such a huge hit. A lot of Detroiters have taken a hit. And so we kind of like semi-brain damage a little bit, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If you had $1 million and now you got $100,000, you're like,
right.
You know what I mean? But see, those that have started up like yourself, young, you were 20, and you were in college basically for doing these difficult period of time. So you out and you're roaring and ready to go.
Yes, sir.
So we need to make sure that we feed and put a lot of capital into our next generation of developers that's going to see to it that Detroit is great. And this is what I really preach about, and I'm excited about. So now we fix to get into the exciting part of it in terms of what the final phase is. Just give me a synopsis, and then we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and break down the details.
Perfect. So the grand finale, what folks get most excited about, is the cash grant award, and that is where we do $500,000 in grants every quarter.
$500,000.
$500,000 in every quarter. $500,000 every quarter, and it generally goes to about 10 to 12 businesses. The average award size is $50,000.
$50,000. So what's the maximum award size you can get, and what's the minimum? And have you had businesses that hit the maximum and the minimum?
Yes, we have a maximum of $100,000.
So somebody could get the 100. If somebody got 100, that means others have got to get less.
Exactly, in that quarter. And we generally stay around $500,000. We went under one time, and we have since gone over twice. So we did $300,000 one quarter, and then after that we did $600K twice.
Did you do 300 because of money or because of?
Yeah, so we actually found that a lot of the folks that we were working with, because and an important part about this is the grant is free money, but what it has to be, it generally is tied to a loan as well, because most of the projects that we see require more than $100,000.
Right, that would make sense.
So we do also work with our lending partners to cover the rest of the funds.
I see.
Right. So what we were finding is that we were having trouble with the folks that were the finalists in that round hadn't had as much contact with lenders, so we weren't able to bridge the gap on those projects, because we can't provide a grant unless we are certain or have a certain degree of certainty that the full cost of the project is going to be funded.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. So that was an issue then, but we then made some changes to the process to make sure that our finalists were in front of lenders early and often, so that our lenders had enough information in order to make a decision at the time that we were making grant decisions.
Right.
But now moving forward, we should have no problem hitting the $500K target each round. But yeah, $500,000, a max of $100K.
Who is funding the grants?
It's funded privately, so a private foundation. So we have probably about, I think anywhere from 8 to 10 foundations. So Ford Foundation, Kresge, we have J.P. Morgan Chase.
And this is fabulous. You know, it is pretty much a fact that southeastern Michigan is the greatest philanthropic community outside of L.A. I think I think L.A. may be in second place. I think we the first or second.
Yeah, it's tremendous, and we wouldn't be able to do the work we're doing without the generous support of the philanthropies here.
I mean, that is really something, because while they're doing Motor City Match, at the same time they're doing Detroit Home Mortgage Program and a lot of other programs with just a concentrated focus in Detroit. And they make it Detroit proper. You must be within the walls
Absolutely.
of Detroit. So where's the boundary at? Is it Detroit? Can you be in Highland Park, River Rouge, Inkster, Hamtramck?
No Highland Park or Hamtramck, but it's purely, it's all Detroit.
In other words, Detroit boundaries per se, period.
Yes.
Well, you know, that is blue-blooded Detroit.
Yes, sir.
So I tell you what we want to do. I want to get into it because there are two parts to this. There's also a part for the landlords. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, that's good. So we want to take and get involved in it. You all stay tuned. This is exciting. I got Anthony Askew here, and he's head of the Motor City Match Program. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back with you. All right. This is Herb Strather, and we're back. We're back. Herb Strather Show, DetroitTalkRadio.com. And I have Anthony Askew, the managing director over at Motor City Match Program that's located inside the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation. We're just having a wonderful discussion here about the excitement of Detroit coming back, the post-bankruptcy period where we're coming out faster than ever. It was the largest municipal bankruptcy in America, maybe in the world. Was it the world?
I haven't heard of one larger, but yeah, certainly.
I mean, in other words,
country.
can you imagine? But we're such an iconic city, and we're the heartbeat of the world.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
When we get a cold, the rest of the world get the flu. You understand what I mean? So it is very important that the city is saved, because the automotive industry used to be the number one industry in the world. I think technology is probably the number one industry right now, but it's all merged because the automotive and technology is all together, and we feed technology because we're one of the biggest consumers of technology, the auto industry itself.
Absolutely.
So it is very important that to come back in the fact that we are watching it live with our very eyes and watching the development. And I'm extremely excited because I'm a philanthropist and a youth advocate. And to watch young people like Anthony, you know, to do his stuff, you know, this is something. I don't know if I mentioned to you that I was part of the Downtown Development Authority for many years.
Okay. Yeah.
And then when I brought about the Motor City Casino, I created the casinos in Detroit. It was a conflict, you know, for me, because things I'd be voting on, you know, had to do with the casino. So at that point, I rolled off, but I was there for 4 years.
Okay.
And over at the DEC, I always thought that we needed to take some more positive steps for the community. Like I would advocate, you know, what was very interesting, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, you know, whenever we wanted to do something, we put our RFP out, or RFQ out, we would get a response. Oh, if this put some money behind it, we're going to put $100,000 in this. You know what I mean? And we get all of this response. And I want to get there and have some discussion on that, but I want to get through the Motor City Match situation. So you're telling me now that we got 4 phases we could bring ourselves back up again. There's the planning stage initially. There's the space stage. There is the architectural design stage,
Yes,
if
sir.
you will, and then there's the cash grants.
Precisely.
The cash grants, and the key to these cash grants is, after you go through these other phases, is to know that you got the matching funds, and this is going to be a reality.
Yes. So, and that's one point I want to clear up, because a lot of folks think that, okay, if, in order to get a $100,000 grant, I have to have $100K of my own money, and it's not. That is no longer the case, right? We did that we did that the first round, but what we found is, I mean, the folks that we really wanted to help just didn't have that much cash, you know, sitting around. So now what we require that at least 10% of the total project cost is covered in equity by the entrepreneur.
By actual cash. In other words, if they want to go for 50 grand, you're suggesting they don't have to have the 50. They could have 5 or 10.
They could have 5 or 10 in personal equity.
And then they borrow the rest?
They could borrow a portion and then get the grant from us. So that's generally what we're seeing. It's about a third, and a third. So the grant, the loan, and in many cases the equity of the entrepreneur is somewhere each around 30%. Give or take, given the project.
That's how it's kind of beginning to shake out, you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. And that's the great thing about the program, because it runs every month. It's a breakneck pace, and it's a tremendous amount of work. But the great thing is we get to iterate, right? So we can learn from each round. Each round,
put errors, and you can kind of correct.
And adjust on the fly.
Now, in my thinking, if it was my class, I would always want to design it where they got to 50%. Because a third. If you got 50 up, 17 and 17, 34, it looked like they would go for 34,000 more. You know what I mean? But it's just at first it's funds available, and you all make the decision how much you're going to match them anyway based on their needs.
Absolutely, it's based on the mix that we have that particular round, and that's another thing. We have a lot of strong. Sometimes we have many more projects than we can support in that particular round.
And you encourage them just to roll over to the next round.
Absolutely. I'll tell you this, and folks, just so they don't get discouraged, the average cash awardee applies 4 times before they win.
Because they got to kind of get in line, because the people who didn't make it the first time, there's maybe a sympathy factor. Is that right?
So that's the thing. We generally have probably around 40 finalists each round, and then we are usually selecting around 10.
Okay, then that makes sense. So it takes about 4 times to get through.
Right, and that's
unless you got a super idea, you may get through the first time.
Sometimes folks do, but
that's pretty interesting.
But again, the average is 4, so it is rare for someone to come in and win the first time they apply. It does happen, I'll say that. But
is there a question of need? Does that have anything to do with, let's say if I got $500,000 in the bank, and I want to open up something for 100 grand?
Yeah.
Can I say I'm going to put 50 in and still let you guys put 50, or you say, Herb, you already got the cash?
So the latter. We try to make sure that the resources are going to those projects that need them most.
Okay.
Right? We don't want to provide money. So the goal of the program is to support those hardest to open projects.
Okay, the most difficult projects to
exactly.
open.
So we come in with that grant funding to make the lender more comfortable providing funding, and that's really the crux of it. Without our infusion of a grant, a lot of these projects wouldn't get any funding at all from the lenders, right? So we do.
And these are absolute grants; they're not to be paid back. Your suggestion.
Our funds are the $500,000 each quarter are absolute grants.
Now, I assume that your lenders are CDFIs.
CDFIs.
Community Development Financial Institutes.
Precisely.
And could you name who they are?
Sure. Yeah. So as you're saying, they are Invest Detroit, Detroit Development Fund, Michigan Women's Foundation, LISC, LISC. We have Prosper Us.
And you said Capital?
Prosper Us. And am I missing anyone? I think
that's 6.
And then there's the Biz Loan Fund, which is a new micro lender. They do up to $50,000.
The BIZ?
BIZ Loan Fund.
Loan Fund. I hope everybody is getting this. I want to go over it again. There's Capital Impact Partners, Invest Detroit, Detroit Development Fund, the Michigan Women Foundation. That's strictly for women, I assume.
Well, it is primarily for women, but they also support minority-owned businesses, and especially if they come through Motor City Match.
Okay, and then there's LISC, Local Initiative Support Corporation. They're national. They're 100% Detroit only. And Prosper Us and Biz Loan Fund.
The Biz Loan Fund is the newest.
Are all of these 100% Detroit only?
No, some are. Others.
I'm all for it. But you may have something in Highland Park too, or
so a few of those will actually operate in Hamtramck in Highland Park as well.
Oh, okay.
For example, the Biz Loan Fund. Prosperous less so, but yeah, generally they are focused in Detroit, and even if they do have some access or they do have some latitude to invest in other communities, from what I've seen, most of these folks are dead set on supporting Detroit.
You know, Anthony, I want to pause here just to give our listening audience, and I'm especially talking to all of the Detroit Association of Realtor members, the investors, those who want to really get involved. You got to know what a CDIF is and how to work with it, because they got great powers to lend. They can. I guess they can borrow from the window. Can they borrow from the Fed window? They got funded. I don't know if they can borrow from the Fed window. I know that some of them have been created by Congress, like LIST, for example. I'm not exactly sure where they get their total funding from.
Well, it's a wide variety, actually.
I mean, they got $2 billion. You know what I'm saying? So they got plenty of money. Let's put it like that. And so they can make outstanding loans. Like some of these funds could borrow. You could borrow 90% to buy an apartment building. Now, you know, I coach my students. You know, just think about it for a minute, please. You could have a 10% commission. Okay? Now, you could put one and one together, you understand, and you got bingo. Two, you got your solution there. You can essentially, in some cases, borrow 100% of the money. Think about it. You are a broker. You may not even be the borrower. Suppose you subordinated your fee, you understand, and you joint ventured with someone to help create stuff. So we talk about creating equity. And I got to put a little ad in here for those of you who want to know how to create equity, how to work with CDFIs. And we've closed millions of dollars out from ourselves. We'd like you to, we invite you over to Strather Academy. Go to 444-9691.com, 444-9691.com. You can register, take our class, join our mastermind group. And for realtors, if you are with DAR, and if you're a realtor and you're not with DAR and you want to do business in Detroit, then join DAR. You get a tremendous discount on our classes and all. So we're back to Anthony Askew. Now, Anthony, this is very exciting to me, and I'm giving me the details that I need. And said, how many applicants do you have normally before you narrow it down to 40 finalists?
Around 100.
Wow, so you get plenty.
Oh, we get plenty. We get plenty.
Now, give me the neighborhood versus downtown, midtown.
Yeah, that's very important. I mean, and my goal, and I think it's also the mayor's goal, is to support neighborhoods as much as we can, right? So we've seen what's happening downtown. We've seen
it's on fire already.
It is. It's reached, I think, critical mass where it's going to continue
by itself.
Yeah.
Well, this is very important because I believe the same thing. You know, in other words, it's been pumped, it's been there, and investment have been made. You know, earlier on, Henry Ford Wayne State University, the city would provide, say, $25,000 grants just to move into 48202, you understand, into Midtown. Now they don't have to do that anymore because it's caught on fire. 48206 zip code is the hottest zip code in the in Detroit right now. I mean, because 48201 by definition is that's Midtown, but it has reached that number. Yeah. Think about this: 48201. Back 5 years ago, had a 48.93% poverty rate. 48.93%. I've said this more than once. There was only one zip code in the entire state of Michigan that had a higher poverty rate than 48201, and that was Temperance, Michigan. They had a zip code there, and there were 78 people in that zip code. And after, you know what I say to hell, they was all family members, all welfare stuff, you know. And now 48201, in terms of appreciation, is the hottest zip code in the United States of America.
That's amazing.
1,000%, 2,000% returns. I had a student that that invested $300 in some lots, because we were buying lots back then, and just what happened, the rest of the block was owned by the land bank, the city of Detroit, and he was paid by my good friend, the Illages. $200,000. Wait, was it 200 or 300? Either 200 or 300,000. I'm getting a little confused. I think it was 200,000.
Either one.
$200,000. Can you own a $300 investment?
Nice.
So it was $150 a lot, I believe, that he paid it for. So this, I know that's super unusual. I mean, that's a very, very high amount. But the appreciation that you can get from some of these is tremendous. And what you don't know can hurt you. People in 48206. They have no idea that what their properties are worth right now. One of my students at STEM Detroit, it's not STEM Detroit, there's a website that kind of highlights the various houses, and I should be fine. I'll find out what that website is. But he was in, they had 5 properties listed, and the idea was out of these 5, what $125,000 could buy. And he had a property at 708 West Euclid, and he came in second place, one of my students. He had bought the house while he was with the academy for $10,000. He sold it 2 weeks ago, $117,000.
Wow.
And he put 10 in, so he had 20 invested and sold it for $117,000. This is kind of opportunities that you could get in Detroit, but don't try it all alone. Now listen, we're talking to Anthony Askew now about the Motor City Match. And Anthony, let's just kind of get back in, and I know I'm swirling off a little bit because I want to capture these thoughts as we go through.
It's all related.
So how long is Motor City Match going to be around? Is there a timetable?
That's a good question. I mean, the mayor's mentioned before that he wanted the program to operate for 5 years. I think he said that publicly. But I think we're in our 3rd year now, and I know that we are funded for the year. But yeah, I think the mayor's goal is up to 5 years.
Up to 5.
It's not, to my knowledge, it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, that's good. I mean, and then if it's so successful, it may extend thereafter, because when these small businesses are successful, that's great. It has a whole bunch of impact.
Yeah,
Tax
absolutely.
revenues, community development, employment, psychological benefits, for Detroiters, period. You understand?
No question. And as we were saying earlier, it really is like my focus and our focus as a program to support neighborhood development.
Have any of them not made it?
We've had a couple. We had a couple examples. One business owner decided that she just couldn't operate the business anymore, so she backed out. But that's before any money went into the project.
Okay, well, that's good.
That is. We did have one her building was purchased. It was actually downtown, and they asked her to leave her lease, essentially. So she didn't close because she failed. It was an issue with
the landlord.
The property.
Yeah. The landlord had somebody else they wanted to put in there,
right,
and they kind of pushed her out, essentially. Okay.
Yeah. So we haven't had too many examples, and that's after this upcoming round, we will have funded 113 businesses.
Well, that is really great. Well, I want to tell you, I operate a building that's on the Grand River in Greenfield, the Tower Center, and we have recently acquired last year the balance of the Mammoth building, which is 100,000 square feet, and we have some very exciting news. We did sign a letter of intent with Fuddruckers.
Oh, fantastic.
And we'd like to bring them in, and also we want a kind of a Dave and Buster atmosphere in that place right now, I have studied movies, but I just wonder, would movies work in Detroit? I had a proposal, but I'm a little scared about movies. What do you think?
I think it'll work. I mean, that's actually one of the things I think is missing. I mean, I go to Bel Air as much as I can just because it is in Detroit, and I have a lot of friends.
Do you have fun there? I mean, culturally, it's cool and all of that?
It is. And they've done some upgrades recently. So, yeah, I think movies will work in Detroit.
Well, then we're going to work on that. I want y'all to hang around. We're right in the middle of it. When we come back, we're going to talk about the landlord restoration program, the building owners program, and then we're going to get in some creative ideas that I have about DEG, how it can help bring Detroit back, and I'm going to bounce these off, and we're going to bring you in. All right, just hang on. So this is exciting. Okay, everybody, we are back, and we just want you to hang on. We don't have too much further to go. We have talked about the Motor City Match in Detroit, how you can get the money, how you have your different phases. You have your planning phase, your space phase, your design phase, and your cash phase. And there's about 100 applicants or more a year. There are 40 that are selected. They're giving out $500,000 each quarter, and we're rocking and rolling. And it takes usually about 4 applications to get it. You will enhance your ability to get it if you line your money up. You can line your money up through the CDFIs, which is Community Development Financial Institutions. They're like banks on steroids. They can make 100% loans to projects like apartment buildings and the like. And you can leverage your fees and your development fees essentially and not have to put money in. So this is very, very exciting, just kind of broadly talking about all of this. So let's review, Anthony, Askew. Would you kindly review the landlord's participation, how landlords participate? We have a building, the Mammoth Building on Grand River, Greenfield, and Tower Center, as I indicated to you. Mm-hmm. And those are probably the two of the most important business and neighborhoods in this entire city. It's certainly the busiest corner in the city of Detroit besides Telegraph Road in Grand River. Mm-hmm. And Telegraph Grand River is only half of that is in Detroit. It's kind of like split at various points. Telegraph is sometimes in Redford. So we are determined to redevelop that corner. Now we got the title 100% now, along with the Detroit Bundle Group is what we call it. So we own it collectively with them. Now that we have it, we want to aggressively put tenants in. Okay. And those who may be interested in entertainment. My concern is that we don't have enough entertainment venues for our children. Mm-hmm. That we as a group have got to go outside the city. It's the most embarrassing thing for a city of our size with 750, 800,000 people and not have a variety of nationally recognized franchise restaurants like Applebee's and Outbacks and all of that. We should have dozens of them in the city.
I understand.
Yet we got 3 or 4. We got one Applebee's, one Chili's, one Red Robin's, and we got Hard Rock in a city of our size. I mean, there's no other city in America that's been disrespected like that.
I agree.
Now I'm going to put a pin in that for a minute because I want to come back. Would you explain to us the matching program for the landlords? How can I as a landlord with my buildings get involved to attract tenants and to get the funding we need to do some upgrades?
Yeah, I say the two ways that building owners can get involved is one, we can list your real estate opportunity on our website.
Okay, I want mine listed. That's number one.
Yeah, and we do that. So the Space Award that I mentioned earlier, there's also a Space Award for property owners. Right. So what we do is we try to identify the top 25 properties from around, and those are the properties that we look to actively match with businesses. Okay. All right. So now we have over 300 spaces right now on our real estate map, which is at motorcitymatch.com. Okay. So that's the first step. So just listing your opportunity. Hey, I'm a property owner. I'm looking for good tenants. Motor City Match sees hundreds of businesses. At this point, after this round, we should be at about 1,000 businesses touched total. So from that group, we should be able to have someone that property owners are interested in working with to occupy the space. So that's the first. Applying for the Space Award as a building, essentially, to have your building listed. And then the second, of course, is the Cash Award. So what we do, we try to support a building owner every round. So it is largely skewed towards business owners. I'd say the vast majority of our Cash awardees have been business owners, but we've recently seen that there are a lot of property owners that have not necessarily been feeling the love, but who really do need the financial support. So one of two ways, or actually, so I guess there's 3 ways that the building owner can profit. One, we can help you find tenants.
And that's with the Space.
That's the Space Award. Yes,
okay,
sir.
and that's really just listing it.
That's listing, and then actually being a part of what we call our matchmaking events.
Okay.
So we bring all of our property owners out. We bring all of our businesses, our top businesses from the program that are still looking for space. And we are in the room for about 3-4 hours. Wow. And and it's just an opportunity for folks to meet one another. I really think that those face-to-face communications, and I mentioned it earlier with the lenders, but to the extent that we can get lenders and businesses in the same room.
When is the next one, by the way?
Well, actually, the next one is tonight.
Really?
Today
With the
Wednesday.
building owners?
Yes, but I mean, it is building owners that were a part of the previous round.
Okay.
So we host these shortly after the close of the round.
How about if you were approved in may say around 2 rounds ago?
Yeah, if you were approved
if
in
you've
an
already been
earlier
approved, you
round.
can show up. Where's it going to be, by the way?
I'll give you that.
Thank you, because I think Tower Center has been approved already.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I've definitely seen you all on the map. But yeah, I'll tell you exactly.
Well, that's great. That's great. I wanted y'all to show up.
Yeah. So that again, one, just identifying, helping to find tenants through the program. In those cases where we can fund the project, either we could help fund it or we can introduce property owners to our CDFIs directly, so that they can have an opportunity to get that funding, even if it doesn't come through Motor City Match as a grant. If Invest Detroit or a Detroit Development Fund is willing to give you $150,000 collateralized by your building, then that you're in a much better position than if you didn't have any funding.
Right. In other words, you can at least finish your storefront, make it attractive, put awnings out front, and attract tenants.
Precisely.
But normally, I think they probably would like for you to have a tenant that you got to rehab. Is
Right.
that correct?
Which you can get a tenant, at least a letter of intent, through working with Motor City Match.
Well, that makes
businesses.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And then finally, working with a tenant who does get Motor City Match grant funding.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So that would certainly enhance your chance, because they've gotten awarded. They need to play. So you need to match those two pieces up. Right. Well, that would make a lot of sense. Now, is there an additional $500,000 for that, or is it all the same pie?
It's all the same pie.
So it's $500,000 to be spent quarterly, but the vast majority is going to the tenants. But a little bit, you carve out some for landlords, and to the extent that the tenant is going into a landlord space that need rehab, and then it's even more so.
There's a chance. Now it is a competition, so so a lot
Right.
of folks
Now,
will get turned
with the
away,
landlord, is this exterior stuff only, or can it be tenant build out?
can be tenant build out as well.
Oh, well, that is fabulous. I just hope y'all are absorbing this. How can DAR help? Detroit Association of Realtors.
Yeah, I mean, I think as many properties that are actively looking for tenants as we can find, that only improves the program and improves the opportunities that property owners have, and it really helps to expand the reach that we have as a program.
Right. You know, I'm on the board of DAR, so I want to reach out to all of my DAR associates. If you're going to do a listing on MLS, also list it here with Motor City Match. Why not put it on there and list it with Motor City Match? I got some, as a matter of fact, I got some spaces that I'm going to take and make sure that I list with you. Okay. And I'm writing them down now. I got some great spaces. So I want to get to this idea about how we can work together and bring more retail here. You over there at DEGC. Is Art Papapanis there, or did he retire?
Art retired about a year and a little over a year ago.
Well, that's great.
Art was there when I first.
And the director of DEGC now is.
Yeah, so we have the VPs for real estate and for business development and for small business, but currently Glenn Long, who has been CFO for a number of years, he's been with the DGC for over about 25 years. He's serving as
interim.
Yes, as interim president.
So you're seeking to have a president.
Yes, I believe so. Within pretty early in this year, I expect for there to be some movement there.
Okay. Well, you know, one of the things that I would like to reach out to the DEGC, and you're over there, and maybe you can talk to some of the fellows and let them know about the radio show. They can go to DetroitTalkRadio.com, pull up the series and see how well you did. You get a promotion. The ideal that I would love for them to put some RFQs or Ps and put some money behind it for what we want in the community.
Okay.
Because if they come up and say, look, we got $250,000 and we're going to give $50,000 per site to 5 different locations, you understand? And we want 2 on the east, or 4 locations, 2 on the east side and 2 on the west side, and maybe 1 in southwest Detroit, or wherever. They can designate the spots. And they could say, we will give these awards out for nationally recognized franchise restaurants. Now, I understand that the ma and pa's, people say, well, I want to open up one, and I don't want to call it Outback. Hell, I want my own, you understand? I can understand that. In some communities say, Herb, we don't want the franchises. You go to Birmingham, they don't want any franchises. As far as they're concerned, they want their own restaurants,
Right.
Well, the problem is that the franchises won't come here, you understand? So we're and we're filling up the franchises all around the edge of the city that go there. And, the majority of even the employees in many cases are African-American Detroiters. And we would want to recapture those retail dollars inside the city. We have a tremendous amount of money going out of our city.
Yeah,
I mean, probably more than half of it all goes outside of our city. How can we exist? We're feeding the suburbs, and that feeds on itself, and it depletes the city every time we take the money out.
Absolutely.
And then it depletes our pride. My daughter, I have a 4-year-old, she wants to go to Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese, Dad, I gotta go outside the city. It's kind of a joke or something.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? In other words, so one of your applicants, Pay and Play, is going to open up a wonderful store right there at Tower Center. It's going to be a Granny Lanch program where we get some of the senior citizens involved who want to mentor kids after school, and they can paint, use their creative mind, because it used to be STEM, now it's STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So we want to include that in for their development.
Certainly.
But we like to talk about in our last few minutes, and we're going to take a break in a minute, and we're going to wrap up the show about maybe how you think DEGC can help us, to develop the neighborhoods. What kind of plans does the administration have? What kind of funds? And how we can really now focus and get the neighborhoods going. And so we'll be back to you just very, very shortly. We're going to wrap up the show. You can tell all of your friends they want to listen to this last few minutes of our show, because we're about to wrap it up, and we have a fabulous guest, Anthony Askew, with a Motor City Match program. And he's a Morehouse man. Yes, sir. We'll be back to you now. Thank you very much. Okay, we're back to Detroit Talk Radio, the Herb Strather Show on Detroit Talk Radio with other media outlets. And we have as our guest Anthony Askew. He is the manager over there at DEGC for the Motor City Match program. And we were talking about the ideal of doing RFPs and RFQs for franchises. And he's told me that unfortunately you guys cannot fund the franchises.
Well,
right?
Motor City Match can't. Your idea of encouraging franchises as part of a separate operation or a separate program or a separate initiative.
Motor City Match can't.
Yeah,
right.
Just Motor City Match specifically.
Well, that's good.
$500,000 that we have. Right. Now, a separate initiative, no.
Right. Well, okay, then, so that makes me feel good. Now my heart feels better. Because the idea that Detroit Economic Growth Corporation could do that if they wanted to facilitate this, because look how many people you hire. I was awarded the Taco Bell franchise for the city of Detroit back in 1988.
Okay.
And we built a couple. We built one on Livernois. We built one on Gracious. And getting to open these restaurants, man, it's really something, because it's like getting on a bicycle and never getting off. So those of you who think you want to open up a restaurant, I want you to give some real serious thought about that to your life and everything else, because you got to be the main character. Are you going to be the cook? Are you going to be the manager? Are you going to be there? Or are you going to open up and get a bunch of employees and think you're going to run it? Because you got another story coming. It's a very risky business. And if you're fully committed and you fully want it, but you be there. I noticed the success of a lot of the Middle Eastern restaurants, Coney Islands all over the city. The owner is the cook. I mean, they're there. Yeah. There's a certain formula that works, and they have not, none of them, I've seen none of them go out of business.
Right.
Where I've seen time and time again, where we open up a shop, no parking, just in the middle of the block, put some signage out. The food might be decent, but you're overwhelmed when you start thinking about restaurants, just think about the margin is so thin.
Absolutely.
You got two huge pieces with the cost of food is 35%, and then the employees are another 30 to 35%. That's 70%. And you haven't paid rent, you haven't paid utilities.
Right.
It's awful. You understand? You got to have the right hook and a tremendous business to make it work. And you got to watch shrinkage. You understand? Especially in the city of Detroit. And quite truthfully, Anthony, that's what some of the hits that we've taken in Detroit, that we had some really great restaurants. They always are number one, but there was so much shrinkage. And the word get around, and the restaurants say, I don't want to open in Detroit. So one of the solutions to that is to have the churches themselves hire the employees. You know, have them put the fear of God in them and go through the churches, the major churches. I know that our church hired all the employees at Kmart. Now, Kmart did have shrinkage, but it wasn't from any of the employees. It was from the manager that came out of the headquarters, just pulling 2 trucks up and taking the food out. I mean, the merchandise out, putting another. It was awful, but the employees did not do it. So I want to, in our few minutes we have, let me get down to some nitty gritty. Decision makers. Who makes the decisions on who gets the awards and how much?
Right. So that is determined primarily by the DGC staff, the Motor City Match staff, the community development financial institutions that we work with. So usually a member or two from each of those CDFIs that I mentioned. And in addition to that, we have some other community partners, so local CDCs that are active in a particular neighborhood. For example, in the Grandmont-Rosedale area, we have like GRDC, the Grandmont-Rosedale Development Corporation. So we try to find players that are super active in an area, and when we're considering awardees that are in that particular area, we do look to get some feedback, some thoughts on those particular projects from those very active community partners. But again, other than that, it is the DGC staff and also our CDFI partners that are primarily making that decision. Because again, we need to lean on those CDFI partners to know how much they'd be willing to lend to a project.
So I mean, isn't there like usually a handful, like an executive committee, maybe you have 2 or 3 that really at the end of the day to make it? I'm sure all this information feeds in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
but
we consider,
for example, you may be one of the principal persons making that decision.
Yes. I'd say that's probably the program manager, the financial manager, and there are probably a couple more that have to. And at the end of the day, I'm responsible as the manager. So, you know, when I take the results over to the mayor, you know, no matter who else was in that committee, like they, you know, he if he's happy with it, he'll be happy with me, and if he's not happy, then you know I'll take the brunt of that as well. But no, it's a team essentially. There are a lot of people who help to reach that decision.
Right. So you have. Once a year you gather, once a quarter have a meeting with everybody that's interested?
Yes, we have the deal-making sessions with the staff and our CDFI partners.
And those who are interested in making the applications and grants, is that the beginning of that stage, very beginning?
So we host info sessions all around the city, and that's where we first gauge interest and we answer questions. They're usually a couple hours.
Well, for sure, I want to extend to you that Strather Academy would have its offices open for Motor City Match. If you ever would like to come, just let us know. And I'm going to give you an invitation to a scholarship to come to our class. You may have to have you teach a little bit too, maybe one of the courses, but we'd like to collaborate with you. And you know, Andrew, it's just been great having you on the show.
I've been glad to
I
be
think
here.
It's a tremendous contribution right now. And Detroit Association of Realtors, let's get behind Motor City Match. You know, we got the juice. Let's find out what CDFI is, and remember, you can always become a part of DAR. Those who are not, just call us at 962-1313. And if you want to take and buy real estate, get involved, why do it all home alone? Why burn the kitchen up and all of that kind of stuff? Take an expert with you. You can find that expertise at DAR. You can also find it at Strather Academy. That's Strather Academy, 313-444-9691, or go straight to Academy, StratherAcademy.com. Join our mastermind group, where it don't cost $30,000 a year to get coaching. It's only a few $100s a year. And don't forget, MotorCityMatch.com, my main man. Thank you very much once again.
Pleasure.
Thank you. I'll see y'all next week. And share this with your friends. Herb Strather. Man, that was really great.
I appreciate it.
And,